Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 311 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Jordan Willis.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest returning for this very special episode of the podcast. Welcome back to the show, the wonderful AVK himself, Alex Von Kurkendall.
Howdy.
How's it going,
guys? Man, great. Good to be here with you guys. It's been a lot of fun lately up here in Colorado. Let's get into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Howdy Hat himself, AVK. So glad to have you back on the show. AVK is back on the show today to hash out with us the things that we wish was just maybe a little different with Mario Kart World. Yeah, we love this game, but there's a few things that could be different to make it the maybe, dare I say, perfect Mario Kart game. Nintendo is listening, and they're going to take the things that we say and change them, and then we'll have a perfect game. But before we give them free advice, we're also going to talk about the news from the past week. We've got a lot of Nintendo news. For example, AI doing what AI does, mistranslating things that Sakurai says about AI. Then we had the Donkey Kong Bananza Direct. Got to see my girl Pauline. But before we talk about all of that, how was everybody's past week?
Good. Outside of the U.S. bombing Iran, I suppose, that was kind of a bit of a whiplash there. Didn't know we'd be at war so soon. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I went to SoonerCon this past weekend in Oklahoma City, or around the Oklahoma City area. I had a really good time. Actually there. I was not really sure what to expect going in. It was my first time traveling with a few of my coworkers. I actually roomed up with one of my coworkers as well in a hotel room. So that ended up being super fun. It was a really good time. When I was there, I actually participated in a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament that they were doing. If I could just briefly talk about that. First of all, I saw there was a Mario Kart tournament and I signed up. So I assumed they'd be doing World since it's the new game, but it was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then what I didn't know when I went down there is that there would be no DLC and that it was 200cc, which I had not practiced for the night before. So I was like, cool, great, I'm done, I'm out. There's no way I'm going to win this. But then I just kept winning. I mean, I lost one early on against this guy. And then I kind of learned the 200cc meta as I was going. I changed my character to a lighter character, and I did standard bike with smaller tires than I normally do. I usually do a heavier bike. And so it's with better acceleration, all of a sudden I was just kind of doing way better. And then I lost that one against that guy, and then I just never lost again. And then it got to the very end. I beat the guy who was undefeated, and then I had to beat him again because it's double elimination. Nice, and so every time it was a Grand Prix 1v1, right? So it was pretty intense, and I cannot believe I won. I won $175. I'm gonna dude. I'm gonna send that money to my brother so he can buy a Switch 2 so we can play Mario Kart World together. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, other than that, it was a good time. It was nice to rep Powerhouse Animation. And then one last thing I'll say is, when I was in the car, I was sitting in the back seat when we were driving up to Oklahoma City the whole time, and the kickstand on the Switch 2 made for a perfect car seat headrest mount. So I actually almost the entire trip had my Switch 2 on the headrest in front of me, was playing Picross the entire time while having conversations with people. I didn't have any motion sickness the whole time. It was great. I really was this actually works perfectly. I wonder if that's kind of what they had in mind when they were doing this, but whether or not it worked out really well. So it was a fun weekend. There's more I could say, but I'll toss it over to one of y'all.
I'm doing all right. The show, how much should I say? The show that I was working on is officially in hiatus. There's a Deadline article. I can talk about it. It's not breaking NDA. And I'm not going to tell you what show it was, but if it's a Austin-based show that recently went on hiatus, that's the one I'm working on. So I'll leave that for the internet sleuths to figure out. But yeah, so my last day was on Friday. So start this weird week of fun employment until they come back. I don't know. I'm going to keep editing the movie, but this past weekend I saw 2 movies. I saw The Phoenician Scheme, and then last night I saw 28 Years Later. Both weird. And I can't believe this is what the movies are right now, which is like really bizarre, but I think they're doing well. I know 28 years later actually did pretty well this weekend.
Mhm.
And considering that like some of the editing was pretty experimental by mainstream movie standards, I was like impressed.
Cool.
Wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, but same with Phoenician Scheme. At a certain point, I turned my brain off to be like, oh, this is not about the movie. This is about Wes Anderson wanting to work with Bryan Cranston, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, etc., because he's never worked with him before. So this entire narrative is just a vehicle for him to shove them into scenes that are like individual, but it's still got his style. So I thought it was all right.
Grandman was in the Isle of Dogs, I think. That was the one. But this is, I think, the first time in live action, right?
On screen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Play
cool.
B-ball.
Yeah,
You know?
it's good stuff. What about you?
Anyway, yeah. What about y'all?
Yeah, I not much over here. Other than like weird, just normal adult things. I bought a dining room table that can actually seat, me and all my friends, so that way we can play Dungeons and Dragons comfortably in my home.
Nice.
Because it's nice for us to take turns rotating, because that's what you should do, take turns hosting. And it was my turn to host, and I was like, if I want everybody to fit, I got to get a new dining room table. So that was a level up, I suppose, to use gamers terms.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's me.
Nice.
Okay, how about you?
Hell yeah. No, plenty of like totally normal adult things over here, Also, Jordan, I have worked on a show that has just totally gone on hiatus. So yeah, that's a cool thing to be a part of.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is what it is, brother. No, it's been good up here. Shout out to any Switch heads who are in Mountain Time. I now live in Mountain Time. I miss you, my Texans, and all you guys back home. But it's been a really good week up here. Actually, a conference was also going on last week up here. It was Psychedelic Science Conference 2025. And friend of the show, OG Switch head Courtney Corcoran, came into town. And we got to hang out a little bit. She stayed with me. And did a bunch of Denver stuff. So it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah. I did not get to attend the conference, but I did get to learn a lot. And I don't know if I can say, but they give out a lot of samples at these things.
Sure. Say no more. Look, it's all for science. It's all for health. Right?
Exactly. It was it's been an illuminating past week for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. And just real quick, if you are in Mountain Time, I don't have any homies besides one guy I know up here that has a Switch too. So reach out to me and let's connect and play some cart, y'all.
Hell yeah, very good. Well, we'll talk about it in the news, but there might be a ton more Switch 2s out there in Colorado, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Real quick, before we get into the news, I did want to give a little bit of shout outs. We did our episode last week on the Big Hops game that's coming out. It's actually currently, as we're recording this, in its last 24 hours of its Kickstarter. So that Kickstarter will be done by the time this comes out, but it has hit a lot of its stretch goals, so that's really great. And we did get a couple nice comments about that. One in the Discord was from Cup Final Fantasy, who said, I did the Big Hops Kickstarter thanks to David's shout out. Looks like a very promising game. So if you can reach one guy, that's what it's all about. And then also on YouTube, Chan Prado said, this game looks so good. Looking forward to the big release. Wishing your team all the best. So it was great to have Chris on last week, and definitely, even if the Kickstarter is done, go wishlist Big Hops on Steam, and it will be coming to Switch as well. So that's pretty exciting. And then, if you would like to be shouted out on this show, go ahead and give us a shout out yourself on social media, or leave a comment on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple. Tell a friend about the show. You could give us a review and all that stuff, which I already said. You can post a comment to Reddit. You can just talk about it in person. We would love all that kind of stuff. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. We do a video version over on YouTube, and we like to show you our beautiful faces, and we'd love to have your subscription over there. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the news, gang, because there's a good amount to talk about. First up, this story's a little silly, but there was a Metroid Prime 4 Beyond ad that showed up in the London Underground, in the Tube, as they call it up there. And that's not that crazy, but what was crazy was there was a giant "out now" on the ad, which prompted a lot of speculation amongst Metroid fans on whether or not there's going to be a shadow drop or some new news about Metroid release date, or maybe it's coming sooner rather than later. I will say since then, the ad has been changed. It looked like the out now part of it was a sticker that you could put on the ad that would cover up where it says 2025. So whoever did that, it seemed like it was a mistake, but does kind of ask some questions on whether or not we might be seeing a release date for this kind of soon. Jordan, I know you're a big Metroid fan. What do you think about this news? Do you think we'll be seeing Metroid Prime 4 shadow dropped or sometime this summer, maybe?
I think we will see Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in the year 2025.
Okay.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's definitely in 2025. No, the out now is just like, yeah, it's just a mistake, and everyone loves to just run with it on the internet and see. But I mean, I really do think this game's probably like maybe fall. That's kind of my guess. I don't think it's going to be a summer release. Definitely not a shadow drop. I think, they're going to want to put out physical releases of all of their mainline games through that, at least for now, for the entire Switch, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare that they shadow dropped Metroid Prime Remastered and then did the physical later. But for like actual brand new games, I don't think they really do that. I can't think of an example. I think it's a little weirder that there's this ad. Is there also a Donkey Kong Bananza ad?
There is.
YouTube?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
saw like other angles from it, especially after they took off the out now sticker that was on the area. There's one for Bananza and there's one for Mario Kart World. And the Mario Kart World one had the exact same out now sticker on it. So it was clearly meant to go on the ones that are out and not that one. So it was clearly a mistake. But I think you're totally right about it not being a shadow drop. I mean, Metroid Prime for GameCube was a digital shadow drop, and then they put out a physical version later, but I don't think they do that for the brand new numbered game in the series. So I don't think that's super likely, but either way, it was a funny story. And for all our British heads out there, hopefully you get a chance to see this in the underground in London. Speaking of upcoming game release news, there has been a rumor circulating around about a Nintendo Direct coming in July. This comes from YouTuber Beat 'em Ups, who on his podcast, the Nintendo podcast, actually kind of just said that he has a source and that some of the people in his circle have been telling him that there is a Direct coming out next month. There were also some games that he said would likely be in the Direct, those including Metaphor ReFantazio, Pokemon Coliseum would be one of the GameCube games dropped, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Witcher 3, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and potentially a new Animal Crossing tease. Did you guys see this podcast? What do you guys think about the timing of a July Nintendo Direct?
It's pretty ballsy of Wood just to come out and say he has a source, but I kind of like that guy for that kind of stuff. He doesn't beat around the bush. So
yeah,
sus, but cool if true.
Mm-hmm. Summer, what about you? Do you think that we will see a general Nintendo Direct in July?
Oh man, I don't know. Probably.
Yeah,
I think they have to. I mean, like at this point, because once Donkey Kong comes out, we don't really know technically what the release schedule is. And I don't think they want to just keep doing Twitter drops or, Nintendo Today drops.
Yeah.
Like I think they want to actually like do a whole Direct. And so that kind of just makes sense just to kind of give us a timeline for the rest of the year, see what's up. Pokemon Coliseum though is like an interesting next one to add. Does that one have like a dedicated single player mode?
That is all the game is, y'all.
Oh, really? Is there no multiplayer on that?
Wait,
Pokemon Coliseum is a single player game.
Wait, are you thinking of Gale of Darkness?
So Gale of Darkness, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness is the sequel to Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Weird.
Cool.
Wow, you guys know nothing about Pokemon.
Wow.
I've never played Pokemon
thought-
Coliseum. I thought it was a Pokemon Stadium, which was a multiplayer game.
yeah.
That's what I thought too. I never played it.
Pokemon
Also thought
Coliseum is the weird game that is made by a bunch of like ex Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII guys that didn't know anything about Pokemon.
Whoa.
You start as an ex, like, how do you guys not know about this game?
Just never played it.
Never played
I just
it.
played the handheld ones. I don't know.
So if there's a Pokemon game you play, it should be Coliseum because it's so different from
Wow.
all of the other, like it plays like a main line, but instead of picking a starter Pokemon, you start with an Espeon and Umbreon, both at level 25.
Sick. Okay.
Interesting.
It's just a different game.
Well, that sounds
Pokemon
amazing,
XD.
Summer. Thank you for telling us.
Yeah, hopefully this does shadow drop sometime soon next month. Because
Shadow drop because Shadow Pokemon originated in Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh my god!
Let's go.
The only thing I'll say
Nice.
is that it'll be weird if Coliseum and Gale of Darkness don't drop at the same time because they are companions to each other, and we know that they're both coming to the GameCube.
Right.
So that's, I guess, maybe my only take. Would love to see a Switch 2 version of Witcher 3 though. I like, because of how dog shit it ran on the original Switch, I was like, how could I possibly?
That's true. And it is on sale a lot. So even if they do charge like a $10 like Nintendo Switch 2 like upgrade fee,
Oh God.
you could get it really cheap and then do the upgrade for pretty cheap as well. I think that would be
Totally.
pretty fair. Although I think I can kind of see CD Projekt Red putting that out for free, to be honest, especially with
Sure.
all the support they've given to Cyberpunk. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would be pretty hyped to see Animal Crossing tease. I think, Wood said that it would probably be coming in 2026, but this would just be kind of like a tease, kind of featuring Isabelle. So if that happens, that'd be great. But we'll just have to see. I don't really know exactly when they would put this out. I would imagine it would want to be after Donkey Kong, but at that point too, that's also a little further out than I would expect a Nintendo Direct to be. How far out, we'll have to see, but this could all just be Wood chasing clout. So we'll have to follow this as we go. Yes.
I think they kind of need to. Like, a lot of people that I've talked to are like, oh, you have a Switch 2. Why should I get one still? So like, let's continue that conversation, get people excited.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to move on because we got a good bit to talk about, and I want to spend some time with the Donkey Kong Direct, but it was reported that nearly $1.4 million worth of Nintendo Switch 2s were stolen from a truck in Colorado. That's about 3,000 systems were in the back of a shipping truck, obviously, that was stolen out of a Pilot truck stop. If you guys have ever been there, old classic truck stop in the Americas. But yeah, be on the lookout for a bunch of systems on the dark web, I suppose. People are talking about how this might affect stock problems that have been happening in the US, but I kind of doubt that it's going to be a huge deal, but be on the lookout. I just got to ask, AVK, you're living in Colorado. Was this you?
Man, I got to tell you, I don't have any information about this, but I'm going to be hot on the trail. I did recently make a new friend who recently got a Switch. I'm going to follow up with him, see where he got his from, if it was potentially a hot Switch or if it was from a retail location.
Okay.
But I'll get back to you guys on this and we'll continue reporting.
I can only imagine in a psilocybin haze, you jumped this truck and took everything from the back. But
Wait, this past week or weekend? Weekend or week?
We'll talk about it later. But that's all we'll talk about there. We'll go ahead and move on. Some users of the Nintendo Switch 2 in games such as, I think the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, along with Split Fiction and a couple other games, have been noticing that their games have been giving little warning signs saying that the HD Rumble 2 is turning off because of prolonged use. No one really knows exactly why this is happening, but this is clearly a kind of fail-safe system inside of the Switch 2 to prevent something. Some people are assuming that it would be overheating. Do you have any thoughts on this, Jordan? I know you added this to the news.
No, it's just weird. Like, it's just, one of those things. It's like, why is this just coming up only in certain games? Is it like the Rumble functionality? It's probably going to get patched out, I'd imagine, or like, patched out by the developers. I'm just kind of curious to see, but it is like such a widespread issue. All these kind of things happen when a console launches. And it's kind of interesting that it's like Split Fiction and some other like the first party games as well. So
yeah,
it seems to be pretty widespread.
Some people were talking about it happened as well. Yeah. I know the HC Rumble 2 is like can get pretty strong. So if you're not tuning it in your game and it's constantly rumbling, there have been reports of some people's arms going numb. So maybe this is done to stop that from happening.
It feels cool when it happens. I'm not going to lie.
Oh my God.
Give it a try.
Feels like somebody else is doing it. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to our next bit of news here, which is also about Pokemon. And that is that a very distraught Pokemon fan claims to have lost 1,000 plus hours and 20 years of progress during a Switch 2 system transfer. This hasn't been reported by many people, but as you'll know, the Pokemon games are not included in the cloud save transfer that is included with the Nintendo Switch Online subscription. So whenever you do a system transfer, if anything goes wrong in that process, your Pokemon saves, it gets deleted from one Switch and moved to the other. So apparently something happened here, and some Pokemon that this player had been bringing up all the way from the Game Boy Advance games, I believe, through Pokemon Home and moved over to Pokemon Scarlet, just kind of vanished.
Oh, man.
I could totally imagine, especially if you have an emotional connection to a lot of these creatures, that this might be totally distressing. Summer, what do you think about this news? Do you have Pokemon in your Pokemon Home that have traveled with you for a really long time?
Yes, I do. So I absolutely 100% don't want to victim blame here, but but my first thought was, if you cared that much about preservation of all of those mons, why would you leave them all in one game like that and not spend the money to keep them in home? That being said, this should not have happened.
Yeah.
And I think, and people are quick to blame Nintendo, but I think it's on Nintendo and Pokemon, because Pokemon expects you to rely on their own separate server instead of being willing to do something that's more centralized with Nintendo. It's messy and I don't like any of it. And if this happened to me, I'd probably throw up and shit myself and never want to play Pokemon again.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
The thought of this happening, I'm not letting myself get far enough to fully visualize if this happened to me, because I also have Pokemon in my Pokemon Home. That's why they're in my home. But Pokemon in my Pokemon Home that have been with me for effectively 2 decades. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My Pokemon Blue cartridge that I had, I did admittedly use Missing No a bunch, and I used a Game Shark to unlock a bunch of Pokemon. And so I was getting in under the hood and messing with it a lot, but I did at one point corrupt my save file. And even though I kind of deserved it because I was a filthy cheater, that was distressing for me as a child, and that was one game from one generation so long ago. And so it's I can imagine if you've been doing this for many generations, this would be pretty devastating. But yeah, I don't know really what else to say about it. I don't think this is a widespread problem, but it does prove that the whole flow chart of moving your Pokemon from game to system and everything is very convoluted and easily broken.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be possible. They need to make this a situation that cannot happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Know how hard that is, but
I agree. I think Pokemon needs to have better laid out guidelines, especially when we have new systems like this. They need to be testing this stuff out enough. David, you said that it's not a widespread problem, but IGN does say in the article that it's been corroborated by several others, even somebody on IGN staff.
Oh, really?
This happened.
Okay,
yes.
That's my bad. Yeah.
That this happened to. It happened to a game journalist. We should, you'd think that Pokemon would have better guidelines for, hey, these are precautions that you should maybe be considering before, it should be on the Nintendo Switch 2 website, listed as this is a problem that can happen. And shouldn't it? I think, it should be a warning.
I think they should probably also just allow for the save data cloud backups, even if it's a one-time thing, have your, as you're doing the system transfer, it's everything that's on here will give you one time to back everything up just in case something like this happens. Even if it's the app that, Animal Crossing had, something similar to
totally.
that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little silly that it's still a problem. And it's also just guys, at the end of the day, it's a game, right? Let's not worry so much about cheaters and trade scammers and everything like that. But I don't know if you guys agree with that, but we should probably move on because we got a little bit more to get to. But I did want to bring up some statements that our good friend Masahiro Sakurai made recently to a publication called IT Media Business Online, which is a Japanese publication. There were a few takeaways here. One that was really making the rounds was where Sakurai said something essentially to the effect that large-scale game development is becoming too time-consuming and unsustainable, and that game developers may need to resort to generative AI in order to keep up with the giant production schedules and huge deadlines and huge, teams that come around with big AAA game development, right? And so I think a lot of people got really upset about this, especially on Twitter. But I think also a lot of people that actually speak Japanese read the article when it was not translated by a AI translation tool, right? And saw that there was a little bit more nuance in there, not really Sakurai saying, hey, game devs should be using generative AI to speed up game development, but rather look how big everything is getting. People are going to have to resort to this because the industry is becoming unsustainable, right? So Japanese, if you're familiar with the language, there's a lot of assumption and between speaker and listener when being spoken, and a lot of that can very easily get lost in translation. So that was one thing. There's a couple other things he said as well about indies having a hard time standing out with the vast number of indies coming out. But do any of you guys have any thoughts on Sakurai's comments here and what he might have said?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, we live in an era where games come to Switch specifically that are so crazily unoptimized. Like, I'm thinking of like the NBA 2K series, and it's like, if there is an option or a way to use AI as a way to maybe help optimize these games, but it's because there's so many people working on these games, it's like impossible to optimize them because it's getting hobbled together from all these different departments that like it just ends up being a mess, and he's right, it is unsustainable. And we've been seeing that the past 2 or 3 years with just the massive industry layoffs of just, we cannot continue, like games will never be able to make enough money to make this a sustainable business model. So people need to start figuring out new ways to go about it. And like, he just is like, this might be a tool that someone could use, like he's not suggesting everyone use it or saying we have to start using this. He's just, like he's just reading the room, man. Honestly, is kind of what I was picking up from this article.
Do you guys think that he might be speaking from the perspective of a man who has made so many games to where it is worn so heavily on his body that he considers that maybe others shouldn't work this hard,
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about his perspective as a creator, and how much of himself he's really, really put in. Not everybody can do that in their career,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he probably, whether or not this was the result of machine translation or whatever.
Sure.
I think he probably could have chosen his words a little bit better here. I mean, he did.
Yeah.
He did bring up generative AI completely unprompted. Like the interviewer did not ask about this at all. So if I was reading it even in the native tongue, I feel like that would have raised my eyebrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two things for me is I don't know that the conversation around generative AI is quite the same in Japan either, the way it's been sensationalized in the West. So it might have just been like a hot topic buzzword that he said, because low key to me, this feels like even the way that we're describing it, I don't know that we still understand like how generative AI could actually be applied to certain kinds of game development. And it still doesn't quite like mesh for me when we're talking about like streamlining it or whatever. I also think this entire story also just speaks to the current state of games journalism, because we've seen so many layoffs, especially in translators, and situations like this wouldn't happen if that weren't the case. It used to be that these big publishers would have several translators on their staff. And I'm sure that those were some of the first people to get cut, because as we know, this completely like all of this happened because of generative AI translation on like social media sites.
That's a great point.
Games journalism and journalism, but yeah, it's all a mess. And could this have been avoided? Maybe. I don't know. Probably. Humans.
Either way, I'm happy that Sakurai keeps making comments, even if they are controversial. I think one of the things that I've always loved about Masahiro Sakurai is that he has always worn all of his opinions on his sleeve, even when it is antithetical to the rest of Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo has straight up come out and been like, we're not interested in following generative AI at this time. Like, we want the human touch and blah, 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 blah. Like, they've made a pretty strong stance at that. And here is Sakurai, who's just like, well, here's kind of my thoughts on it. I could see how it could help when these games are getting too large, And so I think that it's really great that he feels so emboldened, or maybe it's just because he's such a veteran in the games industry and has made so many games, and he's broken his body, like you said, ABK, in order to get games that pretty much everybody loves out. So I think that, Sakurai never change. I know people are
exactly.
Even if you say something that kind of pisses me off, I'm still gonna love you. I think you've done enough for us, and still we got Kirby's Air Riders coming out later this year, directed by Sakurai himself. So, and I highly doubt that we're going to see AI slop within that game. I think we're going to be safe, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our last bit of news here, which is the Donkey Kong Bananza Direct. We were debating whether or not to do a full episode on this, but we're going to go ahead and do kind of an extended section here on our thoughts on the Direct. But boy, howdy, guys. All I'll say is I was already excited for this game. I was already sold day one. I'm a massive Donkey Kong fan, right?
Same.
This put me over the moon excited for this game. And not only has it increased my already super high expectations for this game, but I've been looking online and I've been seeing the reactions from people, and I have not seen a single person talking about this Direct be like, it doesn't really interest me. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been seeing a lot of people that were like, oh, I saw it and I'm not really a big Donkey Kong fan, but now I'm really sold, right? So I think that this Direct, so much more than the Mario Kart Direct did, has really given people a reason that they didn't have before to be excited for this game. But I'd love to get some of y'all's thoughts on this Direct and what we might be seeing from this game. Anybody want to start?
I would like to speak as the resident, not a historically large Donkey Kong fan, right? Like, I've played original 1981, but like didn't play any of the Donkey Kong Country games really, and was very excited by this. And I don't even really play 3D platformers. I might still have to watch somebody else play it. We'll see. But like, as a game, it did get me really excited. And I just wanted to emphasize that because I know that I think y'all are big Donkey Kong fans, and are already like a lot more excited about it. So I would like to just speak from the perspective of somebody who like probably wouldn't have otherwise really cared, that this game looks great and I'm looking forward to it.
I was like pretty sold on it before, but definitely 100% sold now. And like, as much as I do not regret getting the Switch, Mario Kart World is not the perfect launch game for me, and we can maybe talk about this like later, but
sure,
this is the type of game I was really looking to sink my teeth into whenever the Switch 2 came out. And like, I'm really stoked to get my hands on it because it's like Breath of the Wild was such an amazing launch game for the Switch 1, and I needed something like that. Like, I'm more of a solo gamer, less of a multiplayer gamer. So it's like, if I'm just playing Mario Kart solo, it's just like not as fun. This looks incredible.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. I think I even brought that up last episode, was when in the games we're playing section, was like, I love Mario Kart World. It's great, but it is not the Breath of the Wild of the Switch 2. This definitely seems to be, and I think I understand why they launched with Mario Kart World instead of this game. I think it probably was the better decision ultimately, in terms of being a system seller, right? To get it into people's hands. But man, this is the launch game that I wanted and needed, I think. ABK, what about you? Are you a Donkey Kong player historically, and are you excited about Bonanza?
Yeah, man, I've been a Donkey Kong head since Country, and I the original Donkey Kong. But yeah, this is right up my alley. I actually did not. I'm kind of trying to go in blind, so I didn't watch the Direct. I'm really excited about this game. I've been in since they showed it in the first place. My gamer personality type, so to speak, is an explorer. So I just can't wait to dig around and dig through the world and see how far you can go. Honestly, like, like you were saying, there's Mario Kart World is not the Breath of the Wild of Switch 2 so far. So giving us this sandbox kind of a game with Donkey Kong and it's gonna be so hype, man! I can't wait.
Sorry, the words chunk jump just showed up on the video we're doing right now, and it got me excited.
Let's
Again,
go.
lots of cool movement abilities and options in this that they showed here, but that was only really the beginning of the direct as well. And apologies if you're trying to go in completely blind, but I will talk a little bit about some of the stuff that was in it here. But one of the things that they showed off that was very exciting was transformations. Pauline can sing a little song. It's great. Also, we got to talk about young Pauline. We'll talk about that in a second. But Pauline sings a little song, and you can turn into a bevy of different transformations. One of them is called the Kong Bananza ability, which is where you basically go Super Saiyan and become this incredibly strong ape. There's also the Zebra Bananza transformation, which is insane. You become this like swole zebra with a banana mohawk that can just like sprint really fast. There was also another one too, which was the ostrich transformation, ostrich Bananza, where you can actually fly and drop eggs, which also looks pretty cursed, but really fun. And just stuff like this was really showcasing, like, I think a lot of people played the demo at the live events and they were like, man, seems kind of like I'm going to get tired of just smashing stuff. But this, I think, really did a good job showcasing a lot of the other things that will be in this game. There's kind of, those bonus areas that kind of seem almost like Breath of the Wild shrines that will be in this, where you have to kind of solve puzzles or defeat lots of enemies. And it just made the game seem a whole lot bigger, right? Was there anything else from this direct that stood out to you guys?
I want to say, like, where in the timeline does this take place? I see a lot of speculation online. Like, is this technically a Super Mario Odyssey prequel?
Man,
what do y'all think? You don't care? That's
no,
fair.
We have so many babies in this Mario universe. Like, who fucking cares?
That's not a bad point. I have seen some speculation.
It's not Zelda.
So I do think it is an Odyssey prequel. There is a line of spoken dialogue, by the way. Pauline has fully voice acted dialogue, which is awesome. But young Pauline is in this game, and she says to DK, "We got to get to the surface, and there's like something I want to do, or there's something." It was something to the effect of that. That makes me think that she's maybe talking about New Donk City, or returning to that. Maybe it's the creation of New Donk City of some kind. It is a little confusing with the timeline, though, because we know that the Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong, and Cranky Kong is in this game in his old form, right? So I'm seeing some speculation, because Pauline has like really big baggy pants and kind of has like a ripped red shirt that sort of looks like her red dress, that maybe she's been like transformed into a child or something like that. And that maybe, it seems like there's a lot of transformations in this game. And, maybe Pauline has to be transformed back into her normal self to be sent to the surface. I'm not sure what you guys think about
You're
that.
You're telling me this game is the 13 going on 30 of Donkey Kong.
Maybe. I don't know. But it is like, I do like the vibe that it has with the 13-year-old Pauline riding around on DK. It very much does feel, and there are going to be musical segments in it as well. Like, you could see there were songs that Pauline was singing. It kind of feels like it's kind of reaching that like Disney princess crowd a little bit with this, and it's like, it's really smart, I think, to do something like that, because Donkey Kong has its fans and has its hardcores that are going to play this because it's a Donkey Kong game. And it seems like, the rumors are that this is being made by a spinoff of the Nintendo EPD Tokyo team that worked on Odyssey, that have been playing Donkey Kong Country games their whole lives and have a huge amount of love for the franchise. So it's going to have all that Donkey Kong stuff in it. But I think kind of maybe reaching across the aisle to non-Donkey Kong fans, maybe a younger female audience as well, that is now a large part of the Switch demographic. I think it's a really smart move. I don't know. I teared up watching this game. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, there are definitely bits like in this where the music, Pauline singing and the emotional beats are hitting. And I was like, this game is going to make me cry, guys. Like, I don't know. I get real excited talking about it.
Yeah. Do we know who is composing on this one?
We do not know who is composing on this game, but we don't know a lot of stuff about this game. We still don't know who the full developers are. We know there's like there's going to be like 2-player co-op and stuff like that, very similar to what was in Odyssey. So everybody's kind of assuming that it's the Odyssey devs, but we do know that there are sections where you can actually sit and just play tracks from the game. And already on this, it showed that there were over 100 tracks in this. It seems like very similar to Mario Kart World. There's going to be a lot of remixes and stuff like that. So there's a lot to talk about. We could talk about a whole lot more. A lot of people are speculating that Void Kong is actually a transformation of King K. Rool because one of his eyes is a little bloodshot like King K. Rool. So that would be pretty fucking cool if that was the case. But
that would be sick. Also, just quick question. Do we know if the T-Rex will make an appearance in the game? Kind of as another through line between Odyssey and this game, you know?
It'd be sweet. I'd be here for it.
Okay, I did want to ask about one more thing.
Sure.
What's up with the DK artist mode? What is this? I mean, it reminds me of like the Mario 64 load-in screen where you can like move the face around, but you can like chisel stuff. Is this their way to kind of make Mario paint but DK paint or something? I don't know.
They sort of
very strange.
Just put ZBrush into this game completely arbitrarily. It's very weird. But I mean, there was the Mario Artist Nintendo 64 DD game that never came to the US. So I think DK Artist is kind of a bit of a homage to that, which is kind of interesting. But
good call.
Yeah, it's funny because it is like it seems like it's a completely unconnected mode to the rest of the game, just like an extra thing you can do. But I guess they wanted to, they're using all the bells and whistles of the Switch, with the mouse mode and everything like that. So
with all the extra HD rumble, like it would make something like sculpting maybe feel better. DK sculpt, Mario Paint. Now we're in the future. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
3 dimensions, y'all.
That's a good
call. The future
call.
is now 3 dimensions. Donkey Kong, let's go.
I did want to say that they did announce that there is a new amiibo coming as well. I've already pre-ordered that. It is sadly a $30 amiibo, but it does look like a really nice amiibo. It's coming out day and date with the game. I've already got that pre-ordered at Best Buy. And then also I just did want to give a shout out to the announcer for this game. For this Direct rather. I feel like a lot of the Directs have been very dry. Like it is the Mario Party Jamboree plus Nintendo Switch 2, blah, blah, blah. They sound like very corporate.
Yeah.
And this guy was like, yo, it's Donkey Kong. And it was like just kind of nice to hear somebody shake it up and actually have some enthusiasm in the voice, So good job, Nintendo of America, on casting the announcer for this one. It got me really excited. And I think overall, people are going to be pretty pumped for this game whenever it comes out. July 17th. Very close. I can't wait. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, guys, for the news and rumors section. We are going to move on to our main topic, being Mario Kart World and what we see as the future of this game with updates it might receive in the future right after this break. And we're back. We're back here with AVK, and we're going to be talking all about Mario Kart World. I want to say right off the bat, we wanted to talk more at length about Mario Kart World. I feel like our last episode where we actually dedicated some time to talk about this game was also, our big Switch first impressions episode. So we didn't really get to go into as much detail on Mario Kart World as we wanted to in that episode. Now also we've all had a couple of weeks to actually play Mario Kart World a lot more. We have some better opinions or better formed opinions on the game here. And also I think as we're playing it, we're maybe seeing some areas that this $80 game feels a little undercooked, maybe. Now, I also want to say right off the bat, Summer, you said this at the top of the show. As far as I know, we all love this game, right? Like, I think we can all agree on that. This is a great video game. I'm having so much fun with Mario Kart World. I've probably put like 35, 40 hours into it already. Maybe not that much, but a lot, at least 25 hours. And I am very much enjoying it in person, online, over game chat with randoms. But definitely, it does seem like there is room for this game to improve. And you have to imagine at an $80 price point that Nintendo does have plans to add to this game, improve it in some ways. And we want to talk about ways that we think that Nintendo could improve Mario Kart World. Before we start getting into the specifics, is there anything that anybody wants to say kind of generally about their experience with Mario Kart World?
I am thoroughly enjoying the vibes of this game. I think that it is clearly a title in its own right, separate from previous Mario Kart games. There's a lot that I like about it, like the way that it looks visually. So far, I am enjoying the way that it feels, like playing wise. Although when you were talking about playing in that Mario Kart 8 tournament, it did get me starting to think about like, oh, it'll be interesting to see what in-person competitive looks like for Mario Kart World.
Right? Yeah, it's definitely a lot more chaotic. Yeah.
Sure, right? Yeah, because it is interesting now that we're knowing more about just like how specific things in the game work, how much more or how differently things like coins and turns impact, like things like your top speed, your overall acceleration. It's all like, I appreciate that we've got new information, but it is also new information. So that is also something that I'm trying to keep in mind as I'm comparing it to Mario Kart 8, is that it is mechanically different. There is a lot that's different with the game. Like functionally, it's not exactly, it's not a copy paste,
right?
Of
and
the previous game,
and it handles very differently.
Right.
That was something that I had to practice a lot before that tournament, because it was like I got to kind of get back into the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe handling, right?
Oh yeah,
which is a little bit different, and it's and playing that tournament, I was like, definitely, I love that Mario Kart World is doing its own thing. It almost kind of feels like a spin-off game in some ways compared to Mario Kart 8, where Mario Kart 8 like feels more iterative. But then there's a lot of ways too where Mario Kart World feels like they're just straight up doing 8 again, specifically in the online. But we'll get to some of that here in a second as well. What about you, Jordan? What are your kind of overall thoughts about Mario Kart World so far?
Man, I feel two ways about it. I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, by the end of it, became such a perfect behemoth of, like Smash Ultimate, but Mario Kart.
Totally.
That it's hard to transition to this one. And I like a lot of what they were trying to do with just like connecting the tracks. And so having like a connective tissue to make the whole thing feel like a roadmap scenario, whether it be your knockout tour or your Grand Prix, or even when you're playing online, where the 3 options you can pick are the levels that are connected to the level you were at before. It makes it feel really unique, and adding all the mechanics of like the grinding and the wall make the gameplay like look really fun. Like it's really fun to watch people figure out all the speed runs.
Jesus Christ,
crazy. But it also it reminds me a bit of like Mario Kart Double Dash, because it's like where it's like its own, like you're saying, kind of like a spin-off game. It's kind of feels like in that realm as well. So I don't know, man. And I think overall, I'm a little annoyed that this is the game they planted the $80 flag in with no explanation as to why. We can get into that more.
I have a, can I just?
Please.
Okay. You guys, this is the biggest and largest and most exciting music I've heard in anything, in any form of media. Okay. I'm not talking video games, anything. I don't think this is probably true, but it's my hope. And in my headcanon, the $20 extra is going straight to all of the band and orchestra members, the hundreds of musicians that played on the hundreds of tracks, the scores of scores, if you will, that are jam-packed into this game. And I think it's a banger.
That is some very wishful thinking on your part, AVK.
Absolutely.
I have to imagine those session musicians were, I'm sure they were in the studio for a while. I bet they got whatever flat Japan rate studio session musicians to get out there. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I've got theories about the $80 thing as well. I mean, because I was looking at the Donkey Kong Direct, and I'm like, if this is a $70 game, I can't imagine what an $80 game is going forward, because Donkey Kong Bananza seems to be huge, and it really seems like Nintendo's putting their whole ass into that game, right? So to me, it kind of feels like, the $80 thing was just like to get people to buy the bundle, like straight up, and so many people were mad about it that I kind of can't see them doing this again unless they come out and say, we have a roadmap going forward, right? And I think that maybe that's a good time for us to kind of maybe start getting into this and some of, our thoughts on where they could actually start making improvements here. Because I think, we've got a list of like about 15 things that we think we'd like to see improve with updates to this game. And I think first and foremost, I'd like to say a roadmap for content would be really good, because I think we're all assuming that there will be more content added to this game a la Splatoon. But in Splatoon, they were like, just so you know, this is going to get 2 years of content updates, right? I can even personally see this getting updates throughout the entirety of the Switch's life, but I think a roadmap is a pretty needed thing at this juncture. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, man. Splatoon is a great example. They just kept adding stuff. Actually, like last week or two, we got new kits in the game, new loadouts, and a bunch of other new stuff. A new map that they added from Splatoon 1. So Mario Kart has years and years of potential content that will continue to be banger. Gameplay content, characters, music, tracks. How many tracks? What was the grand total in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
96.
Yeah. So the combinations in conjunction with how many tracks there are, the in-between areas, and I don't know what they could do, but we could see islands added. We could see new continents added possibly to this world.
I'm going to put a pin in that because I think that there's more I want to talk about with that. But Jordan, did you have something you want to add to this?
I want to wait like about 5 years, and then I want them to like double the amount of content over the course of 2 years. That's kind of the roadmap I'm looking at. I really just want some acknowledgement. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a sucker where they're just like taking me for a ride, and it's like, yeah, we all assume this, but this could be the game. Like, this could be it. I don't think so, but at the end of the day, they haven't said anything as far as that goes. So I just want some more transparency, which is asking a lot from Nintendo, a historically opaque company.
They love their surprises, right? And I think Splatoon is not the example to hold up. Like even with Animal Crossing, we didn't know that we were going to get continuous updates until they made like official announcements about those updates. It wasn't something that came out with the initial release of the game. Mm-hmm. And I really, Splatoon really was like the surprise for that. And even then that was with Splatoon 3. Like we didn't know that we were going to be getting DLC with 2 right out the gate. But obviously it would be nice to know like what else we're investing in. They also love their secrets. I see both sides of it. Mm-hmm. I too love being surprised. I also love knowing what's going to happen. Balance in all things.
Sure. Yeah. You are the Thanos of the podcast. Let's talk about some of those additions, because I think the obvious thing would be more tracks, right? I think, that we got the Booster Course Pass, but before that in Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U, we got paid DLC, in which a lot of those courses that came with Deluxe were originally dropped in packs as well, right? So I could see them adding stuff. I would love to see these be added for free, or at the very least, if you have an NSO subscription, right? But it kind of does beg a question on, if they do add more tracks, where do you put them? Because, we have the Mario Kart World now, which is like a little island. Although, side note, also I do want to say, is the Mario Kart World the new Woohoo Island? I'd love to see a Pilot Wing set here. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on from that right now. But there's not a lot of space really within this world and all the interconnected areas in which you could put stuff. It feels like this world is kind of set in stone. So what do you guys think they'll do if they do add new tracks? Do you see that as new islands, like you said, AVK? Or do you think that they might actually expand the landmass in order to add more tracks and have more kind of roads that you can travel to?
Well, we got to think about Sky Islands, first of all. So there's the possibility. Rainbow Road, I don't know where that really is. You can't drive to it.
It's
maybe let's connect
Castle,
the mainland. Yeah. Let's connect the mainland with Rainbow Road. We have a whole rainbow highway above the island.
Yeah,
potentially.
Okay, like a kind of a DLC. Upper echelon, I suppose.
Exactly.
Midgard situation.
Oh, there we go.
What about you, Jordan?
I kind of like that. I mean, I was thinking in my brain, they just go like kind of around on the outskirts, but it's like then they become added on to that section of the world on the outskirts. But again, like that's not as fun. And like I think, yeah, like what AVK is saying, like having it above, and then that gives the ability of like, oh, okay, now instead of 3 areas that we can pick, we have 4 because one's in the sky.
Pretty sick.
And then kind of get you also around the world, like, because it hasn't really happened to me yet, but whenever you're playing and you just kind of get stuck in the same part of the world because you just keep going in like a circle loop or whatever, it'd be cool to have some sort of mechanic that got you to different parts of the world other than just picking random. You know?
Warp pipes could be implemented.
I could see them. Yeah, warp pipes. That kind of makes sense. I could see them adding new islands for franchises too. Like, say, there's a Donkey Kong Island, there's a Zelda Island. There is, as new games come out, they kind of use these as like cross promotional tools or whatever. That's something that they could do there. I think that's interesting. Something that we did definitely want to bring up as one of the things we could see improve is in regards to the music. I think that the music in the game is way too quiet. You're hearing you're hearing your car kind of roar over most of the tracks in this game, and this game's soundtrack is arguably the big seller of this game. This game has an incredible soundtrack. So I think having a volume slider where you could kind of change where the music volume, if it's above or below the sound of the cars. And as you're going around the open world or just in the game, a GTA style radio that you could use, or just a music player in general in order to do stuff like that, I think would be really nice. I think somebody put on here a music player mode from the select screen would be a nice addition to see in a DLC.
And if we're doing a GTA style radio, we need Sakurai station in there for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. All the Kirby tracks, come on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it'd be crazy if they just kept adding music to this game.
That'd be wild. I think what they really need though is like AI generated Sakurai voice to voice the radio as the DJ.
That's King DDD you're describing right there. Let's go ahead and move on. I think something else that people really want to see is, or maybe an update they could make to this game that would make it better, is the character select screen is garbanzo beans. Like, it is really weird. It seems to be in a completely random order. That none of the characters are grouped. You can't sort it to where the characters are grouped, but even then, all the costumes are their own choice. Like Mario Kart 8 seemed to do it just fine, where you could pick the different characters and their costumes as you go, but that seems to not be the case. I think that would be really nice if they were able to clean that up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
They need to clean it up. Just while we're talking about cleaning up the character select screen in particular, have you guys taken a look at just the pose that Birdo has before you pick her? She's like kind of like ass out, like big batty eyes, like that mouth. I don't know, man. It's like kind of like, why do we have to?
Look, that's my fucking
like
wife
that?
You're talking about,
that's
man.
What
you
I'm
keep my
about.
wife's name out your goddamn mouth. No, but I agree. I mean, I would like more costumes for all these characters. I think at the very least, like I think Yoshi has a shit ton. Birdo only has 2 or 3. Yeah. And then a lot of the characters, like we've talked about, Pauline and DK only have 1 each. You have to imagine at the very least they're going to be adding costumes to them, right?
Yeah.
Cowboy hat costumes for everybody, baby.
Yeah.
Seriously. No, Pauline literally had a cowgirl costume in Tour, put it in World.
That's a really great point. That Mario Kart Tour is an endless well that you could grab for costumes, because there were so many of them.
Costumes in there.
Yeah.
And I think Rosalina has 4, I think, costumes in this, and I think 2 of them are already grab them and slap them from Tour. Why aren't they just grabbing and slapping the rest of the costumes from Tour?
I agree. Yeah,
we could grab and slap those, and how many we would end up with? At least 2 dozen more costumes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a ton of characters in that too that aren't in this game. So
if they just drip drop them, that would be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think any update is going to get people hyped for this game. But another update that we have listed here that we'd like to see is kart customization with the designs and stickers. Because, we have all these stickers that you get from playing the open world, but you can't really do anything with them. They're
really cool.
You can pick one to have as your like little online logo, and that's all you can do. It's like one that you can use out of hundreds and hundreds of these, it seems like. So I think that some sort of cart customization, at the very least putting stickers on your cart where you can kind of deck it out, I think that is a must, right?
Would be sick. I mean, they gave us how much control over locker customization in Splatoon? I know it's a different team, but
Oh,
you know,
no, yeah.
Yeah.
That
you
was
would think
such a
we could just move
surprising-
some stickers around, maybe change a couple colors on the carts even.
100%. Also, that's the last Splatoon reference you're allowed to make this episode. I'm
You
joking.
got it, brother.
No, I'm joking. Jordan, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was kind of legitimately surprised that this game doesn't have like customizable banners for your online. I'm
Yes.
thinking like Call
Oh,
of Duty, where
yeah.
you just have all these like designs and you make your own banner based off that. Because as soon as I saw the stickers, I was like, oh, surely like this will be a thing. You can customize your banner. That's a no-brainer. But I'm like, why give us so many stickers and nothing to do with them? It just kind of baffles me.
I actually have a question about that because I don't know if you guys know this, but when you play online and you look at your friends list, you know, it's got like a character on it and their name and the sticker they choose. What decides what the character is? Is it just who you play as most? Like you can't pick that, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's whoever they're playing with currently in that moment. That's what I thought.
Oh, maybe
That's what
makes
I was
sense.
thinking, but
But yeah, in
I'm
that
like
thing, it's
pretty
just
sure.
yeah, it shows all your Switch friends, whether or not they have a Switch 2 or they have Mario Kart World. It's very strange
Oh.
that friends page. I don't know what the
I haven't gone
thinking
beyond.
was
I
there.
haven't looked at it much beyond friends I'm like going to play with. So.
right. Yeah,
and,
it's
and
weird.
that has so far seemed to be who they're currently playing as, but
Yeah, it's just a very odd setup they have. It's well, let's go ahead and get to that now. I think let's talk about the multiplayer here, and then we'll maybe end with the single player because I think that's some of the biggest changes we'd like to see. But let's go ahead and move on to multiplayer because I think that the talking about that friends page, like it is basically a just reskinned version of the online from Mario Kart 8. Like it is the exact same. Like almost the entire menu system in this game is the same as Mario Kart 8. The whole online features, that's all the same modes, obviously with the addition of Knockout Tour, right? But it's like, other than that, it's like the same. And I just don't understand if this game was truly in development for 8 years. You know, were they spending all that time on the open world and like really not putting any time into changing up the online infrastructure? Like I even get the same communication error codes, you know, it's like whenever I get a communication error, it's worded the exact same way, you know. It really does seem like they kind of, you know, and I know the devs have said that this was originally going to be a Switch 1 game before they eventually moved it over to Switch 2.
they did say that.
Yeah, they did say that in the Ask the Developers interviews. But it's but it just seems like they did not build anything from ground up and rather took the bones of Mario Kart 8 and then just added this open world onto it. So I think that I would like to see Mario Kart 8's online and multiplayer modes actually get a little bit of its own identity going forward. But I do worry that ship has sailed a little bit.
That's a good point, David. And I guess, I don't know, it is a bit different game feel. So as far as like a game, I get what you're saying, but like it does feel different online without, even if it was just 12 players and you're going through the tracks like normal without Knockout Tour. But I did think that's a great point though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have in here, I'm not sure who put this, but the option to actually pick courses outside of the ones you can drive to or random. You know, that is something that I think I kind of discovered over time was like when you're playing online, if you put random, it'll be a 3-lap circuit instead of a, you know, starting at one track, an interstitial, and then 1 lap at the thing. I like that that's an option. I like that you can do that, but it'd be cool to have kind of a classic mode.
A classic
right?
mode. Yeah.
That
Why not?
That you could move to. I think that would be a pretty great thing in order to do. But again, that would have to be a new setting that wasn't in Mario Kart 8. So that's not something that they put in the game. But I think a huge one that I think is a massive oversight is that when you're playing online with friends, you cannot join your friends in Knockout Tour.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
has
so
to be
frustrating.
something that they'd be able to patch in, right?
I'm mixed on this because think about what a Knockout Tour is. It's a locked in thing for 15 minutes. And when you queue in, when you're waiting to join with a friend, like maybe they'll patch this in because in Mario Kart 8 you did get to at least spectate the race where it was at. Now you are just automatically put into free roam mode.
Mhm.
Maybe if they could give you an option to spectate, so that way you can see where they're at in the race, if it's worth, you know, if you decide you want to stick around with it. What I would like to see with Knockout Tour is being able to queue into the same, like joining online what I think would make sense is joining online with a friend that you know that you want to play online Knockout Tour with, being able to queue up together. I get why you can't join a friend.
Well, that's an overhaul they need to do to the entire online system, right? Because this was a problem in 8 as well. Like, it would be great if you could party up first and then join an online versus race or something like that, right? That
should be the way it is. I agree, right? Because I would love to be able to just do that for. I love playing Knockout Tours online. I would love it more if I could play with my friends. So I'm mostly just doing regular like versus online because I want to play with my friends.
You could find a room that has like 13 people in it or 20 or whatever when you have a party of however many people, right?
The rooms are not filling up for regular because everybody wants to play Knockout Tour, right? So also usually when I'm playing regular online, it could go up to 24 players, but it's mostly been middling around like 15, 16. They're not filling up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the whole kind of system needs to be changed. A couple other little ones in here. You can't see what countries people are from in this game. That was something you could see in Mario Kart 8. Yeah. And that was a really cool thing, Like I enjoyed it. Yeah, like even just when I was playing in the hotel, like prepping for this tournament, it was like, oh my God, it's all Japanese people. And I got so scared. You know what I mean? Playing, like,
maybe that's why they got rid of it.
Maybe, but it was definitely a feature that I think was cool. It's like, oh, this guy's from the Netherlands, or this dude is playing from South Africa or whatever. It was all these it really made it feel like the Olympics or something.
I was going to say no, that's a great point, David. Especially as how with how international of a sport racing is, you have racers from all over the world, and this is Mario Kart World, so it kind of just would lend itself to the role playing aspect if you're really trying to get into the racer spirit, it's kind of cool.
No, this is Mario Kart World. This is not the Earth. Okay. So
maybe that's why they took it away. They wanted to all be set within this world, right?
I think for the role-playing mechanics, it's all set in the world, but that also brings me back to I need my banner to be able to represent that I am from Cheap Beach or Peach Kingdom or I want to be able to show where in the world I'm from via my banner. Man,
they'll add that in once we get to see more of the world.
Well, they need to
add get to say where you're from once you get to be from other continents.
That's true. Well, they also need to add in governance and municipalities to all the different regions of the Mario Kart world as well. If we're going to start doing that, I think.
And I'm from Crown City because I've decided to live somewhere with elected officials and not under the monarchy.
Exactly. Elected official Pauline.
Yes.
But kind of on that point, also not a lot of people knew this, and this certainly was a feature that a lot of people used, but in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you could chat with randoms. You could voice chat with random people that you play with by using the Nintendo Switch Online app. That is not possible in this new game. I'm not saying that they need to add that, but and I think it would probably definitely be abused, but it's just weird that was a feature in the previous game that was taken away from this one.
Real quick shout out if you're listening to this episode and you found out about this podcast from me voice chatting with you in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I told you about it during a chat and you became part of our community. There's a few of those people.
All right. Well, we love a street team. You had a couple that you added here, Jordan. Do you want to talk about some of these? The first one being battle mode.
Yeah, I feel like it was just completely ignored. I played a little bit of it now. I did like the coin run or whatever, and then a couple of the balloons. But it's just like, man, just you do it or don't. It's just this whole middle ground of like kind of putting it as like a legacy. I would rather see them put that energy towards literally everything else we just talked about than just putting in a half-assed battle mode again. I think I put won't please someone think of battle mode.
Good way of saying it.
It does definitely feel like it was an afterthought, and there were more modes in Mario Kart 8 for the battles than there are available in this, right? And I think not only that, they had bespoke, arenas that you could play in. I think that's okay. I think Mario Kart World, for the most part, is utilizing the kind of whole open world and fencing it off in a way to where I'm okay with kind of the way that they've set all this up, it's doing the Mario Kart 8 battle, but kind of better, right? But it still would be nice for them if they are going to be adding tracks to add battle mode stages, maybe add a few more battle modes in general. I think that is a very good call. And then you have here as well kind of a ranked mode beyond rating number. This is, again, something that was just taken straight from Mario Kart 8, which is just your number go up or down. And that's basically the only benefit that there is to playing online. You think that it might be cool if there's maybe some ranking system?
Yeah, so like pretty much I played Apex Legends for forever, and then there's pubs and then there's ranked, and it's just the vibes are different, man. Like, and I feel like Mario Kart right now is all pubs, which is just wild, balling out, going crazy, not a lot of strategy. And then also you get paired with people way above your skill level and way below your skill level. Like, and there's no way to control that whatsoever. So I feel like it's like high time. Like, does Splatoon have a ranked mode? AVK, I know you can't answer that question.
Yeah. AVK,
you tricked him into talking about Splatoon again.
No. Please explain, AVK.
No, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, like PUBG, Splatoon does have a ranking system, and it's based off of the glyco scoring system. Do you guys know what this is? No. Okay, it's like a standardized ranking system that a lot of games use for their online ranking.
Okay, sure.
So something like that. And I think, Jordan, you had the idea of cool Mario themed rankings, kind of like the cups are titled different, like a star rank, or like the shell rank, or blue shell rank, or cloud rank. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it just kind of writes itself, and the fact that they had this opportunity to add this in with a new online system and just completely ignored it. They could still add it on later on, but I just think it'd be nice to be able to be paired with more comparable players to my skill level than just everyone in the world that's way better at this game than me.
I agree. I think that having kind of just a general online like there is now, and then adding a new thing for the much more competitive people, it would split up the player base, but I think a lot of people are going to be playing this game for a long time, right? And especially if they add features like this, it's only going to make more people want to play online, and add the hardcores into their own little cordoned off area that they can sort of race with each other. I think that's a really smart move. I would love to see that.
It would also be good for the competitive Mario Kart scene. Like right now, that kind of only exists in the form of world record chasing, which is really cool on its own.
Right.
But the competitive aspect of playing, big matches with 24 racers, that's kind of badass.
Well, there's no tournament mode in this. That was something that they added down the line in Mario Kart 8. So it's definitely possible that they could add it. Maybe that should be its own thing here, is add a tournament mode. But it's that's at least a little bit of something that we could see. But I think overall what we're getting at is I think the online just needs to be completely revamped from the ground up. And that, because we're saying that, makes me think that it's not going to happen. When you put it like that, it's the game is kind of there. It's completely redoing everything is going to be hard. So I think, but it is a bummer that in this $80 game, there are seemingly little to no differences from Mario Kart 8 Online, other than it missing features that Mario Kart 8 had, right? So hopefully we can see some sort of thing come around, because I personally, the way that I love to play Mario Kart is online. That's how I like to play. I like to play with friends against randoms, right? So any way to stream like that is going to make it quite a bit better for me. Let's go ahead and move into the final bit that we want to talk about with this game, which is the free roam single player. We have, obviously, in the single player, we've got our standard Grand Prix. We have our Knockout Tour, which is a new mode that's added, which is awesome. Not knocking Knockout Tour at all. I love it. And it's really great. It's fun to play online as well. But the free roam, while amazing and very fun, and has been a great pick up and play handheld mode distraction, right? It's very fun to just jump into free roam, explore, find P-switches, stuff like that. Does feel remarkably undercooked. Right?
Totally.
I think, to me, and I mentioned this last week on the podcast, but it really feels to me like they made this incredible world that could have a whole game in it, made all the side quests for the game, and forgot to make the game. And I feel like there is a whole single player campaign that would have fit beautifully into this world, but there's just there's nothing there. There's no bosses. There's no like, even if it was kind of like working the Grand Prix into like a story, I think that could be really cool, right? But
that would be cool.
You know, what do you guys think? Like, what would you like to see them add to single player here?
The sky's kind of the limit. I mean, did you guys ever play the game Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
Oh yeah,
hell yeah, brother!
What kind of question is that?
God dang right, man. There's so many cool challenges in each of those contained levels, right? So now we have a game where all of those stages and levels are connected seamlessly. So like there's so much room for potential. Like they could have added a single player game in here. You would think maybe we'll get that sometime soon because it would be an infinite possibility of cool things to do and challenges and more things to unlock possibly. P-switches are great, but they're pretty few and far between. What do you guys think?
Well, didn't like Diddy Kong Racing even have an adventure mode?
Yes.
Where like you pick a character and you kind of have a story and there's like bosses and I'm like,
that's what
literally
I want.
something like that. That's, you know, like you don't even have to set it in the open world. You can just do it in the Grand Prix and I'd be like really happy.
Yeah.
Good point.
You saying that actually sounds kind of reminiscent of classic mode in Super Smash Brothers, where it's effectively the same for everybody, but also every character basically has their own, like, this is how you power through classic mode and like what all of the quote unquote bosses look like. Like I could see something like that, where you don't have to like completely ground up make something for every single character, but make some kind of adventure for every character. I'd love that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be really great. And yeah, like you said, with all the characters in it, especially because it is all like Nintendo, or not just Nintendo characters, it's Mario characters, right? Like having something kind of specific, even if it was kind of like how fighting games do it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like you get a little cutscene at the end for Birdo, like when you complete all the things for that or whatever, right? And then you get one that's kind of like made, you know, I think a great example of this also is F-Zero GX. Like that's a racing game that had a great story adventure mode, right? I mean, and it was just thing by thing by thing by thing. But imagine if you were doing that, you know, you drive to this and then here's that, you know, and they could even section off areas in order to get there. And then there's really hard boss races that you have to do, or you end a race, you like race somebody and then you get to the end and then you have to do a battle mode, a balloon battle with them, right? Like there's tons of things that you could do here, especially with all the NPCs that are in the game as well. You know, we've got the Charge and Chucks, which are just kind of random things that just pop up, right, during races or whatever. And I feel like they have all these enemies in the game, but then just didn't quite use it. You know, it just feels to me like maybe they started doing this and then we're like, oh, we're not going to get this done in time. So they just gave up, you know?
Unfortunately, it does kind of feel like that. Now that you kind of got me thinking, David, with all these extra modes and challenges in the open world, I mean, it kind of lends itself really well to maybe not Captain Falcon Bounty Hunter, but some type of bounty system in the game where you could go around, you know, challenge racers for bigger prizes as you go. You see all these racers. I'm only halfway joking here, right? Like,
hey, you didn't say get out of the car, and that's all I care about. Okay.
Nobody's beating each other up, but more like you see these street races kind of happening in the world, and you can join them if you find the P-switch. But they could do a lot more with that, I think, and it is a very alive feeling world. You know, like so it'd be cool to see them flesh that out a little bit more.
Right. Like, what's the point of telling me that, like, sometimes you're in open world where you're in free mode and it'll do an icon above an NPC character. Why?
Well, why? Yeah, you can drive to them, but then
why do I need that Birdo is driving that way?
You just drive around them.
Yeah, and I drive up to her, I drive near her. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, you can't even like challenge them to a race or something, you know, like that. Even that would be cool, you know.
Or you like catch up to them and you find out like where they're going, and then you can choose to join them. Like it turns into a quest. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. Even
Birdo's on the way to the mall, and that's how you unlock the mall. I don't know.
I'm not asking for Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color. I'm just asking for Mario Golf for the Switch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that had an adventure mode that at the time we were like, this is fun, but it's not the Game Boy Color. It's a little half-assed. Mario Kart World doesn't even have that, you know? Yeah. So even if they added that, that would feel so much more like, oh man, this is really an $80 game. You know what I mean?
It really doesn't have that feel. Like that's not after you play it for a few weeks. It's like, man, I only
maybe they're letting us get a grip of the mechanics, and then they're gonna dump that on us.
Weird way to do it. Did you have something you wanted to add, Jordan?
Yeah, I wanted to add one really like super specific gripe. Because when I'm driving around in the world, it's like pretty fun. And then I hit a P switch and then I do the challenge and then I fail it the first time. And then I go restart the P switch and then I have to drive into the P switch and then watch the cutscene to start the P switch again. And then I fail it again. And then I have to drive back into the P switch and I have to watch the cutscene to do the P. I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. I know I'm bad at it. Please stop showing me like what I'm supposed to do. You know, like I just think it's like every other game. You go restart challenge and it starts you right at the beginning of the challenge. It goes 3, 2, 1, go, try again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, it's just like this weird, like takes me out of it. And it's like, I don't know, it's like such a super specific gripe, but I feel like it's like indicative of like a larger experiential problem. And it's like, I get it. It's a game made for children.
Yeah. It takes you out of that flow state though. Like none of us are speedrunners, but just to have those extra couple, like 10 seconds or however long, that's a long time to see the whole challenge again. Just, it takes you out of that flow and it takes you out of the muscle memory that you're trying to build to complete that challenge if you're having a hard time with it, right?
While we're talking about it too, I think just adding in a checklist, a Mario Odyssey style.
Yeah.
You know, like here's all the things I don't know how many P switches are in this game. You know what I mean? And that I feel like part of that is by design. I think they don't want this free roam to be like, go through and have to do everything. They want you to find things by exploring, right? And like whatever. But at the same time, there's a counter for how many switches there are. Or what are the question mark things?
Right.
There's a counter for that for each area,
but nothing else.
Not for P switches, not for the coins. Why? You know what I mean? Like what?
Peach medallions.
Yeah, and even like what? And on top of that, like what are the question mark panels for? Do they do anything? Like, do you
get you a sticker?
Has anyone completed all of them?
No. Nowhere close. Yeah. I mean, it's in a way, it's like kind of nice because it's like, you know, I'll be able to explore this, I think, ad infinitum, like for, you know, a long time and still not know exactly where everything is. But I mean, fans have already made an app that it's like a GPS where you can, you know, check off all the things that you've been able to like find so far, like in the app. So it's like, you know, I just think that especially after a little while, that's an easy thing to add that Nintendo could do. But yeah, I mean, there's more we could say there. Obviously, I think that single player like has some problems, but I think we should probably wrap this up here. That was a good number of things that we'd like to see updated. We've been really negative on Mario Kart World here because we're talking about all the things we want to see improve. But I do want to reiterate here at the end as we're closing it out, like, free roam is fun. Online is fun, right? Playing in person with friends is fun. Playing the Grand Prix.
Kicks ass.
Yeah. Time trials are fun, right? Like doing all that stuff. But it doesn't mean that we can't be discerning on ways that we think that this game could be better, especially when it is a more expensive game. So I just wanted to at least say that one more time before we close out. Is there anything anybody else wants to say before we call it here?
Yeah, I kind of want to just go ahead and add to that and just reiterating with the fact that like we're a Nintendo podcast. The reason that we even bring up topics like this is because we're always rooting for Nintendo and we love these franchises so much and they've brought us so much happiness in the past. So by talking about the things that we would love to see like changed about it, it's not that we dislike what they're putting out. It's that we're on their team and we always want to see them do the best. So that's our way of rooting for them is, well, we're your fans. This is what we would like to see. It's not that we don't like it. It's just, we're always rooting for it.
That's a big place in our heart. We're all passionate about
these
really silly games. And we spend a lot of time doing this.
Right. It doesn't come out of negativity is what I'm kind of saying. It comes out of like, we just love it so much.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be great. Also add in race customization like you added into Mario Kart 8. Okay. Anyway, that's going to do it for the main topic here. We're going to take a small break and we're going to go ahead and move on to our next segment of the show, which is the games we've been playing recently. So I've been playing A bunch of stuff. Like I said, I played a bunch of Switch in the car. Most of that was Picross E7 from Picross S Plus. I completed that today while pooping. So that's great. I also, when I was at SoonerCon, I was hanging with my friend Veronica, who I roomed with, and she was playing a bunch of Vampire Survivors pretty much the whole trip. That was Veronica's Picross. That was Veronica's car game. So we did play a little co-op Vampire Survivors. So that was a lot of fun. But I did want to bring up Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which I have been playing a little bit more of. It's a $10 game. A lot of people think that this game shouldn't even exist or think it shouldn't, be a paid thing. But I do quite like this game, even though it's, a little odd. Some of the mini games, even though you're just like moving a mouse and clicking a thing in like under 1 second is like literally one of the mini games, get really stressful because you have to get super precise with mouse mode and do a lot of cool stuff. And as far as like mouse mode goes, this is one of the only games that really shows off mouse mode that isn't Cyberpunk, which I'm not going to buy Cyberpunk because I already have it on 2 separate systems, So it's like getting some mouse mode in and playing some of these like really specific mini games. I've been having a lot of fun with Welcome Tour, so that's been pretty cool. And then other than that, the other game that I've been playing recently has been going back to Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. And that's mainly because I'm riding the hype train for Donkey Kong. I'm really excited. And I never like fully 100%ed Tropical Freeze. I beat it on Wii U, and then I didn't even unlock all the levels on the Switch version. So I'm going through, getting all the levels unlocked, and then getting all the puzzle pieces and everything for Tropical Freeze. And I've been playing that. I've been liberally using Squawks the parrot in order to tell me where some of the things that I missed were, because I don't really feel like playing the levels over and over and over and over again. But I'm having a lot of fun playing Tropical Freeze and getting all those collectibles. Such a good game. Shout outs to Austin, Texas. Retro Studios. They did such a good job with this game. I know the next game is not being made by Retro, but still Tropical Freeze is one of the best games on the Switch. So I've been enjoying that quite a bit. What about you, Jordan? What have you been playing recently?
So just a quick follow-up. I did finally finish The Last of Us Part 1. I get the hype. It is interesting to play this game 15 years on from the original PS3 version. And just kind of, having played games that it inspired, it's interesting to go back and play this game. And as beautiful as the game was, the design does feel a little bit dated in like the corridor is niche. But anyway, great game. Actually, absolutely loved it. But because of that, I my subscription to the PlayStation Plus, which I was going to cancel the day the Switch came out, lapsed. And I was like, shit, okay, I'm going to make this worth it. So I finished that. And then I started another game. I started Returnal, which was kind of like one of the launch titles of PS5 or one of their very early titles. It's like a roguelike third-person kind of shooter game. Incredible. It is so much fun. This is exactly like my speed. It's like something where it's like I understand the mechanics of it. It's not too crazy hard, but I'm like going to die a bunch of times just trying to make a run work. And I don't know. It's just like really interesting to see kind of a more fleshed out AA. I don't even know if this is a AAA, but whatever. More fleshed out, high graphic intensity, like roguelike, like a more, I don't know how to say it, like professional. I don't even know. It's not what the word I'm looking for. Anyway, but, and then other than that, since Mario Kart World, I almost have been playing exclusively in multiplayer. I was like, I want a game to test out the Switch to screen and portability. So I bought Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Wow, this game is so much fun. This was a recommendation in the chat. I want to say it was Ty Typos turned me on to this game. Yeah, the game is kind of like, they call it a Yo-Yo-vania, but it's closer to like a Zelda game, honestly. And then it got me really thinking about the difference between a Metroidvania and a Zelda-like, but that's a whole nother topic.
Wow. That's an episode on its own.
New episode.
Yeah, but I would say it's closer to like a top-down Zelda game with this yo-yo, and like the mechanic of the yo-yo is really fun. Like they add all these different movement abilities as well as like attack abilities that kind of vary up your gameplay and add like different types of puzzle elements that is like unique in a game like this. It's like a lot of people just copy Zelda, which I love, but at the same time it's like nice to see that formula and then someone take those mechanics and kind of like make something a little bit newer spin-off of it. Pun intended for Yo-Yo. And anyway, I highly recommend this game. It's like $20. Totally worth it. I'm about 15 hours in. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through. Easy recommend. If it's ever on your radar, please pick it up. It's beautiful. It's like Game Boy Advance kind of style pixel art and all that stuff. Hey, Kat.
There are not enough yo-yo based games. There's only like 3.
It doesn't sound like a Zelda like. It sounds like a Star Tropics like. You know what I mean? With that yo-yo. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Sorry, what about you? What about you, Summer? What have you been playing?
Yeah, all of that meant nothing to me. So I only play real games like JRPGs. I'm so kidding.
You gotta get some knowledge. You gotta play that Star Tropics, man.
That's a joke. I have such a soft, smooth brain that I require turn-based combat. Which to lead in with that, I finished Clear Obscure Expedition 33 this past week. Nice. And holy, that game, I'm going to be thinking about that game forever. I've been curating the think piece videos that I am willing to watch by certain creators because there is so much to talk about in this game. But I don't want to talk about it too much. I would love to just like DM me, and we can talk about we can compare endings and pictos that we use to get there. What I do want to talk about really quickly is this game called To a T. It is another Annapurna game. It is by the Katamari folks. Based on all of the trailers for this game, I had expected it to be a puzzle game about being in the shape of a T, and it is very much more so a disability simulator.
Whoa.
Because it is about how you are living through the life of being in the shape of a T and how your family has and like your community has done all of these things to make accommodations for you. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know how much I'm going to play, to be honest. But it's a niche. I like get what they're going for with it for sure. I don't know that it's hooking me. I don't know that it's for me. But I had to play it because I was curious because like Katamari people, right? And then I did finally start, let's say restart Deltarune. I am playing it back from the beginning on my Switch because I had played it originally on my PC and I wanted to play it on my Switch because I wanted to play it in bed. So I did finish chapter 1 recently, and I am now in chapter 2. So I have not gotten to the new chapters 3 and 4. But what I do want to say is that I'm grateful that I have started it from the beginning again, because wow, chapter 1 was fun, but chapter 2, the writing in it is just so good. There's so much that I enjoy about the writing. I forgot about how funny the main antagonist is, and just in general, the world is. If you're into Toby Fox's humor, which I very much am, it's definitely worth not waiting for the entire game to be out because you'll be 60. So definitely start it now. And it's got me so excited to find out what chapters 3 and 4 have in store for me.
What about you, AVK? What have you been playing?
Yeah, man. I think I said earlier last week I jumped back into Splatoon 3 for a little bit to check out some of the new weapon kits and loadouts and the new / old stage that they added from Splatoon 1. That was a lot of fun. Been messing around with a lot of the dualies. And it feels good though. And they added 2 new Splatanas that are awesome. Additionally, so a few of us started playing Pokemon TCG Pocket. I actually went all in, and I don't know, since I was on the show last, I did become a full TCG player. So I've been updating my Charizard deck from last year. So I have these are like real cards over here. I have a few cards. I have a Gardevoir deck, Dragapult, Charizard, and those are the main ones that I play. But making some friends and doing some tabletop stuff for the first time. I've never really done that until this past 6 months or so. So making some new friends up here in the mountains. And other than that, Final Fantasy VII Remake is still. I'm slowly chugging through that, as well as Metaphor Ray of Fantasio, because I did buy a PS5 a few months ago just to play those 2 games mostly.
Hell yeah. Great to hear. Yeah. Keep on gaming.
Thanks, man. And also, what is your shirt, David? I've caught peeks of it, but can you just show?
Yeah, it says here, go ahead and destroy the financial district, Kirby. Make the people happy.
My God, man, where did you get that? Okay,
I got
that's
it on Yeti.com. So
Okay.
it's a little shout out to our friends at Yeti. Please
yeah.
sponsor the show. All right. That's going to do it for this episode, gang. What a fun time. Thank you very much, AVK, for joining. What a blast. It was so good to have you here. I'd like to give a thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon. And if you'd like to find me online, I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji.
You can find me at We Bewitched.
You can find me at Boardan.
And what about you, AVK? Where can people find you online?
You can find me on IG at HowdyHat69 on your friends list as well. I'm going to be known as HowdyHat69. I know I said it last time. I didn't do anything with it. Now the Switch 2 is out. I'm gonna fire up the Twitch again, and we're gonna do some weird streams over at twitchtv.doprowinfree. So check me out for that. I'll keep you all updated.
Very good. Very good. Definitely follow that over on Twitch. And then if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter. We have a website, that's switchheads.com. And we have a Facebook group, a Discord, and a Patreon. Like we've said, we would love it if you would follow any and all of those. So we'll have links to those in the description of this episode, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Apple or Spotify. Please leave a review on Apple and Spotify. Leave a like and a subscribe over on the YouTube. And please join our Discord. We love our Discord so much. The Discord community, that's what keeps the boat rowing, baby. That's what it's all about, is the community we build and all the friends we make along the way. So join us over there. But that is going to do it for this episode. Make sure you don't touch that dial, because we're going to have a very special, great episode for you next week. But in the meantime, gang, you guys know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Fucking play some Mario Kart World. Why don't you write your senator and tell them how much you need Mario Kart World to update? Also, tell them that we shouldn't be bombing Iran. That's going to do it. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.